She transitioned from replying to your texts immediately, finding humor in everything you said, and making excuses to be close to you, to becoming suddenly quiet, cold, and distant. And there you are, thinking, what did I do wrong? Here's the truth. You did something right. So right, in fact, that it scared her. Let me clarify exactly why that is. As a woman who's unfortunately done this more times than I'd like to admit, let me be frank with you. Many men have lost women who were starting to fall for them, not because the woman lost interest, but because they misinterpreted the most confusing behavior women exhibit when their feelings become too intense. She pulls back, and the man perceives it as rejection. He either pulls away in return, becomes passive-aggressive, or, even worse, disappears entirely. Meanwhile, the woman stands on the other side of that silence, silently heartbroken, pondering, I guess he never cared that much after all. This cycle ruins more potential relationships than actual incompatibility ever could. A study appearing in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology revealed that nearly 68% of people experience what researchers term fear of intimacy, a measurable psychological resistance to emotional closeness, even when they genuinely desire it. And here's the part that should truly stop you. In multiple follow-up studies, women scored significantly higher than men in emotional vulnerability avoidance. This isn't because women feel less, but because they feel even more. That overflow of emotion is exactly what triggers the withdrawal. So, if a woman in your life has suddenly turned into a ghost after weeks or months of warmth, you need to hear what I'm about to share. Because what might seem like rejection externally is often her nervous system shouting, this person could genuinely hurt me because I actually care. As a woman, I'll guide you through precisely what's happening in her mind, the reasons behind her actions, the specific patterns that differentiate genuine disinterest from fear-driven withdrawal, and most importantly, what actions you should take. The wrong move here could cost you someone who might have been the one, while the right move can change everything. Stick with me, and by the end, you'll grasp something about women that most men never fully understand throughout their lives. Let's delve into the psychology of this. Once you grasp the underlying mechanics, the behavior becomes clear. As a woman starts to nurture real feelings for someone, something shifts within her that's hard to articulate. It's more than just butterflies or excitement. It translates into a very tangible, physical sensation of losing control. For women socially conditioned from an early age to manage their emotions, remain composed, and be the stable ones, this loss of control feels profoundly threatening. Dr. Sue Johnson, the founder of emotionally focused therapy and a leading authority on adult attachment, explains this phenomenon well. As we begin to depend emotionally on someone, our brain activates the same threat detection systems that would arise if we were facing physical danger. In fact, your brain literally cannot distinguish between the exhilaration of falling in love and the fear of falling off a cliff. The same neurochemical cocktail, adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine, floods your system. According to research by the University of Basel, this experience is heightened for women who tend to process emotions with greater neurological intensity. So, what does a woman do when she feels as if she's free-falling emotionally? She reaches for something solid, and the most solid thing she understands is her independence, her barriers, her distance. I'll be the first to admit that I have done this myself. There was a time when I met someone who made me laugh until my stomach hurt, who remembered the smallest details I mentioned in passing, who gazed at me as if I were the most fascinating thing in the room. And the moment I realized I was checking my phone every 3 minutes, hoping for a text from him, I panicked. I didn't reach out for 4 days. 4 days. It wasn't that I didn't want to speak to him, but rather that I wanted to talk to him so intensely it frightened me. I needed to prove to myself that I was still okay without him, that I hadn't given anyone the power to devastate me. That's what pulling away feels like from the inside. It's not a power play. It's a survival instinct. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not claiming every woman who withdraws is harboring feelings for you. Sometimes, a woman pulls back simply because she's not interested. That's a reality you must respect. However, Fear-driven withdrawal and genuine disinterest may appear nearly identical on the surface, but stem from entirely different motivations. There are specific patterns you can observe that will help you discern which situation you're facing. The first pattern is timing. When a woman loses interest, it typically happens through a gradual and consistent fade, with the energy slowly draining from conversations over weeks without any dramatic shifts. But if she's pulling away out of fear, the withdrawal is abrupt and follows a moment of closeness, maybe after a wonderful date, when you shared something vulnerable, or after your first kiss, only to then experience radio silence. That sudden retreat following intimacy is a sign of fear, not disinterest. She's not reacting to boredom, she's reacting to being too close. The second pattern is inconsistency. A woman who is genuinely uninterested will remain consistently distant. She won't return with bursts of warmth. In contrast, a woman withdrawing from fear may fluctuate. She might be cold for a few days, then suddenly return with warmth, engagement, and possibly even increased affection, only to retreat again later. This push-pull dynamic can be draining for both parties. However, it's a strong indicator. She keeps coming back because her feelings are real, yet she retreats because those genuine feelings overwhelm her. The third pattern involves micro-signals, which can be subtle but are incredibly telling. A woman who doesn't care about you typically won't monitor your actions. She won't check your social media, ask mutual friends about you, or react if you post a photo with another woman. In contrast, a woman who is fearful yet still invested is attentive. Even if she's not texting you, she's likely still aware of what you're doing, perhaps tracking your social media posts, showing up in places she knows you'll be, or making eye contact from across the room, despite not responding to your last message. That's not someone who has moved on. That's someone trying desperately to let go but struggling to do so. The fourth pattern is emotional leakage, a phenomenon many overlook entirely. When a woman fears her feelings, those emotions can manifest in peculiar ways. She may irrationally become irritated over trivial matters because anger feels safer than tenderness. She might make sarcastic remarks about people who develop feelings too quickly, signaling her own fears rather than yours. Just after a moment of intimacy, she may mention that she's not really looking for anything serious. This isn't honesty. It's a smokescreen. She's trying to convince herself as much as she's attempting to convince you. I believe showcasing what this really sounds like within a woman's mind is invaluable. Because external behaviors, coldness, distance, mixed signals, tell you nothing about the internal struggle she faces. Here's what that internal dialogue actually sounds like, and I know this because I've experienced it and have had these conversations with countless girlfriends. I need to slow down. I'm getting too attached. What if he doesn't feel the same way? What if I'm more invested than he is? I'll appear desperate or clingy. I need to back off and see if he even notices. If he does, maybe it's safe. If he doesn't notice, then my instinct to protect myself was right. Read that again, as this internal monologue reveals something critical. She isn't testing you in a manipulative way. She's conducting a safety check. Her nervous system demands evidence that you won't abandon her before she allows herself to take that leap of faith. The tragedy is that many men interpret that distance as a cue to pull away, thus affirming her deepest fear, which compels her to retreat even further until the whole connection collapses under the weight of two individuals who genuinely want each other but are too fearful to express it. Psychologist Dr. Amir Levine, co-author of the book Attached, labels this as the protest behavior linked to anxious attachment. What's fascinating is that this behavior isn't confined to those with anxious attachment styles. Even securely attached women can experience fear-driven withdrawal when the emotional stakes are sufficiently high. The experience of falling for the right person elevates those stakes higher than almost anything else in life. Now, we reach the most crucial section, as understanding why she's pulling away is only beneficial if you know how to respond. I'm going to share something that may contradict every piece of advice you've ever received from friends, dating coaches, or late-night Reddit threads. Do not match her energy. I know. I get it. The conventional wisdom is that if she's cold, you should be colder. Mirror her distance, and show her you don't need her. If she's genuinely uninterested, sure, exiting gracefully is the way to go. But if her withdrawal stems from fear, mirroring her coldness is the worst response possible. It validates all of her anxious thoughts, signaling, "You were right to be scared. He never cared that much." Instead, here's what really works. And I speak from experience as a woman who has encountered both approaches. First, acknowledge without pressure. Send a message that's straightforward, like, "Hey, I've noticed you've been a bit quiet lately. No pressure at all. I just want you to know I'm still here and not going anywhere." That's all it takes. No lengthy essay, no emotional interrogation, and no questioning if you've done something wrong. Just a calm, reassuring presence that broadcasts safety. Can you imagine how powerful that gesture is for a woman who's spiraling? It's akin to a hand reaching out into darkness. You're not pulling her toward you. You're simply reassuring her that the ground beneath her is steady. Second, give her space without disappearing entirely. There's a significant distinction between granting someone space and vanishing entirely. Space means you're not overwhelming her with texts, not appearing uninvited, and not demanding explanations. Rather, you remain present, occasionally interacting with her stories, sharing a funny meme you know she'd appreciate. You're showing her that your interest remains strong and that her moment of doubt doesn't erase what you've built together. Third, be emotionally consistent. This one distinguishes the men women fall for from those they only almost fell for: emotional consistency. Women who fear falling in love are fundamentally wary of emotional instability because that's what has sown hurt in the past. If your mood, affection, and attention fluctuate wildly based on her treatment of you, you become another unpredictable element in her life. However, if you maintain a steady, warm demeanor, present but not suffocating, interested but not anxious, you become the safest person she can confide in. And safety is the antidote to fear. Fourth, gently name the dynamic. If the push-pull continues and you've established ample trust, it can be incredibly impactful to gently address what's occurring. Not in an accusatory manner, more like, "I think what's happening between us is meaningful for both of us, and I understand it can feel overwhelming at times. I just want you to know that I'm fine with moving at whatever pace feels right." When a man communicates that to a woman grappling with her own emotions, something inside her releases. You've just reassured her that her fear doesn't frighten you. And a man who isn't intimidated by her fear, that's the man she will stop running from. Here's what transpires when you respond to her retreat with calmness instead of reactivity. Initially, she might actually pull away a bit more. That might sound counterintuitive, but think of it this way. She's been braced for you to leave. When you don't depart, it destabilizes her expectations. She won't know how to process a man who remains calm while she's internally turbulent, so she might unconsciously test that steadiness one more time just to verify its reality. But if you stand firm, maintaining that calm, warm, patient presence, something truly beautiful occurs. Her defenses begin to lower. Not all at once, and not in a dramatic fashion. It begins with small gestures. She texts you first. She laughs a touch louder in your presence. She casually brings up future plans like, "We should try that restaurant sometime," testing whether you're still committed to being around. She starts to ask you questions that delve deeper than surface-level topics and eventually shares something she's kept to herself. Then, one day, she gazes at you with an expression that's hard to convey but impossible to overlook: relief and gratitude. It's the face of a woman who realizes she can fall, and someone will genuinely be there to catch her. I've seen it happen. I've felt it happen. Every woman I know who has found lasting love will tell you the same thing. The man she ended up with wasn't the one who chased her the hardest. He was the one who remained steady while she tried to push him away. Before we conclude, there is one more crucial aspect I wish to address. Some of you may be on the other side of this situation. You're the woman pulling away, telling yourself it's because you're independent, not ready, or simply not that interested in him. But deep down, you know the truth. You're scared. And let me share something from the perspective of someone who has experienced that profound fear. Protecting yourself from love doesn't actually shield you. Instead, it guarantees the very outcome you dread. You push away the person who could bring you happiness, only to mourn their absence as if they left on their own accord. But they didn't. You never allowed them to stay. The bravest action a woman can take isn't to be invulnerable. It's to say, I'm scared, but I'm choosing you anyway. That's not weakness. It's a form of strength capable of transforming your life. So, here's what I need you to take away from this. If she pulls away after a period of genuine connection, warmth, and laughter, do not automatically jump to the worst conclusions. Consider the possibility that she isn't rejecting you. She's rejecting the vulnerability that accompanies wanting you. And how you react to that moment will dictate whether she becomes someone in your past or someone with whom you build a future. Now, let me present one last thought for you to ponder. Everything I've covered today revolves around what occurs when a woman is grappling with her feelings. But what happens when she stops fighting? What occurs when a woman has quietly and internally made her decision and chosen you? That moment does exist, and many men miss it entirely because they remain fixated on mixed signals from weeks ago, while she's already 10 steps ahead emotionally. She has chosen you. She's merely waiting for you to realize it. There's one unmistakable sign, a specific indication that confirms she's already made that choice. I've detailed it in the video currently showing on your screen. It's titled, "The Only Sign That Confirms She Already Chose You." Honestly, if you've absorbed all I've shared today yet skip that next video, you're leaving the most significant piece of this puzzle untouched. That video is the second half of this discussion. Go watch it right now. Understanding why she pulled away is just half of the equation. Knowing when she has already claimed you is the other half.